Welcome to Performance Driven Living, the podcast where we question everything. We don't tiptoe around tough topics, we walk right into them. Not to provoke, but to get closer to what's real. You might not agree with everything you hear, and that's okay. The show isn't about being right, it's about being real. These conversations are meant to stretch your thinking, challenge assumptions, and spark something deeper. The views shared are those of our guests and may not reflect those of the host or team. And while we dive deep into health, performance, and transformation, this is not medical advice. Talk to your doctor before making changes to your health or lifestyle. Take what lands, leave what doesn't. But whatever you do, don't stop questioning.
We're back on the Performance Driven Living podcast, and we are here, and I have the honor of introducing y'all, not that I'm introducing, you're probably introducing me, not him. This is the infamous, world-famous New York Times bestseller, and my friend, Ben Azadi.
Mark, Mr. Radical Generosity. Love you, bro. Grateful to be here.
Mr. Keto Kamp.
Let's go.
I know, let's go. I'm going to read this, though, because I always say, like, I have to read because I'm terrible at actually using any kind of show notes. But they put together these intros that I would never say all these nice things about you. But it says, you're one of the leading voices in the world of metabolic health, fasting, and the ketogenic lifestyle. As the founder of Keto Kamp and the author of 4 best-selling books, Ben has empowered millions to reclaim their health through science-backed nutrition and mindset shifts. Ben, welcome to the show. We're thrilled to have you here.
I love the intro. It's good to hear some nice things come out of your mouth about me.
It's true. Like, I mean, they've got to be scripted.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, whatever.
I'll take it, bro.
I can at least read.
I'll take it.
Ben, I'm thrilled to have you here, first of all. Thank you for taking the time out of your conference here to come up and join. I appreciate
It's an honor. I love what you're doing.
I appreciate that. But so this entire thing, like, you just had a New York Times best-selling book, which congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing. And I'm going to just tell everybody that I have the first signed copy that exists.
I remember. I just got the author copies.
That's a moment for me.
Dude,
like, I have the first signed copy of a New York Times best-selling book.
The first copy, like, not even, I mean, it was signed, but the first copy, like, that I ever gave away of the book, you have.
It's true. And you actually wrote that in the book. So I actually have in your handwriting the proof that that's the first
correct.
signed copy. So we
have the
receipts. Good with that. Correct. I've got it on tape. We're good. But so I want to actually, this is actually really funny because I'm going to say my first understanding of anything biohacking related. Okay, it's like, I think this happens. Like, biohacking for most people, and I actually hate the word biohacking, which we're at the biohacking conference. So I suppose I've got free liberty to use it this week. But the biohacking, right? The longevity, the functional medicine, whatever we want to call it. And that can take 17 different avenues and run to ad nauseum. But I got to be honest with you, the first time I ever understood a body hack was with keto. And this is going to sound ridiculous because, and I think I told you this, I grew up a fat kid. I'm not ashamed of saying it. I mean, I'm ashamed that was me, but I'll gladly tell the story. And grew up with terrible body image. And like, to this day, I look at myself as being this big fat monster. Okay, which I realize logically is not true, but I think a lot of people who grew up with that, body dysmorphia kind of mindset, like, it's I actually saw a meme the other day that said something along the lines of, is body dysmorphia real or am I really this ugly? And I was like, I don't know. But it's like, I grew up a fat kid, like whatever. And I'll tell people, like, I grew up in an Italian family where no one ever gained weight and everybody ate whatever they wanted. And, it was almost like you were dared to eat as many pieces of pizza as you possibly could because that everybody got a laugh out of how much pizza you could eat and so on. And I grew up with my grandmother and my cousin who could eat 6 pizzas and be 97 pounds, right? Because that's just the way his body worked. And I never understood how to hack into that. I never understood what a diet was. I never understood that. Like, I was I'll say latchkey kid. So it's like, I never played high school sports. I never played in the band. Like, I literally, I wasn't engaged in that way because I went to a private school. In fact, my senior year of high school, I owned a business.
Wow.
So I actually owned a business at 16 years old, and I would leave school to go. I had half days because I had a co-op, and I would have half days and I would go to work. So that's what I've done my entire life. I worked. But it was like, that became my identity, was work and performance. Not a surprise that we're on the Performance Driven Living podcast, but that became so much of that. But it wasn't until my 20s, and two good friends of mine, Kathy and Jeff are their names, and they had been married for probably 6 years or something, wanted to have children, never had children. And it became the joke that I was like the third wheel. Like I would just hang out with them all the time, and we had a bunch of mutual friends. So we'd all get together and stuff. But through college, they were two of my closest friends and still are close friends today. But out of nowhere, Kathy ended up getting pregnant, which is kind of funny because like I think she didn't get pregnant because she wanted it so badly and screwed up all of her own, hormonal balance and whatnot. And then when she finally like just kind of accepted life, ended up getting pregnant, which is kind of funny. She got pregnant, Jeff and I got fat. Okay, which is kind of funny. And then we discovered Dr. Atkins.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
You, of course, know Dr. Atkins.
Yes.
And Dr. Atkins came along, and Jeff and I ended up, doing this because Kathy's breastfeeding. She's losing weight hand over fist. And we're like, okay, wait a minute. Like, you're losing weight. You had a baby. We didn't have babies. So we started microwaving pepperonis with mozzarella cheese on them and creating fake pizzas on paper plates, which in retrospect is like one big carcinogenic disaster. But I'm like, but literally, like we'd like spread pepperonis all around a paper plate, put some mozzarella on it, a little bit of pizza sauce.
That's keto.
Right, exactly. Super dirty keto, but keto. And it became very much that Atkins game, and then I would end up going to Wendy's and eating the burger off the bun and ended up dropping like 25 pounds. And I was like, wait a minute, like this can't be normal. Like I'm eating fat foods. Mm-hmm. Right, and losing weight on this. And I'm like, this can't even be normal. And again, not necessarily sustainable. So it's like my weight bounced up and down and so on, and you get sloppy and whatnot. But I attribute that to being my first biohack.
That is.
I mean, it is,
it's
though,
a dietary biohack, a metabolic biohack, yes.
Like, but you literally are like the father of keto at this point. I know that you would defer to Dan Pompa and Steve Gundry and all these other people as being more advanced than you in the spaces. But like, literally, you're the keto guy. Mm-hmm. Like they're definitely into digestion and definitely into metabolic health and gut health and so on. But like you're the keto guy. Like you're the Keto Kamp guy.
Yeah.
What is it? Because the more I've learned about keto over the years, like I do keto totally different than I did back then. Like when I eat high protein, low carb nowadays, like it's not microwave pepperonis with mozzarella cheese, right? It's not cold hot dogs.
You advance, yes.
Like, what do you see? And I don't want to lead you too far in this conversation, but I thumbed through. I haven't read Metabolic Freedom yet, but I did go through and read a bunch of it, like sections that I thought were interesting. What do you see when people start this keto thing? Like, what is the misunderstanding?
There's a lot of misunderstandings. Well, the first one is this: people call keto a diet, and it's technically not a diet; it's a metabolic process. And there's nothing new about keto; it's just nuanced or maybe new to some people. But in reality, ketosis, this metabolic process, it's been around, Mark, since humans have existed.
Sure.
All of our ancestors did keto. How do I know that? Well, they didn't have food available all the time. They were forced into fasting. When you fast, you burn body fat, you produce ketones. So what unlocks this process of ketosis is insulin. Insulin needs to be lowered. Insulin is a hormone that is elevated when you eat carbohydrates. Mm-hmm. So when you lower your carbohydrates, for most people under 50 grams total per day, you lower insulin, lower blood sugar, then you flip a switch to using stored body fat for energy. Your stomach, your belly fat, your hips, your love handles. Those fats are sent to your liver.
Personal, you can stop now.
I was a fat, obese kid too, bro. I understand. So the fat that's being used for energy is now sent to your liver, and your liver produces ketones. So the first misunderstanding is that it's a diet. It's a high-fat diet, and there are many different ways to do it. You did it with like pepperoni and cheese, and that's one way. It's not the healthiest way.
No, not so much.
It's not. But when it's done the right way, it's highly anti-inflammatory. It lowers inflammation at the cell level. It lowers insulin, as I mentioned. It also upregulates glutathione, which, as we know, is a very important antioxidant.
Detox, yeah.
And 93% of Americans are metabolically unhealthy, according to a 2022 study that I talk about in Metabolic Freedom. Mark, 93%.
Correct.
Right? Here at the conference, there's over 4,000 people. But let's say we walk around, there's downtown Austin there, and we just...
Dude, I was at the airport here a couple days ago. Like,
exactly.
You don't need to explain. Like, you can go to the airport and
you see it with your eyes, right? So
sadly,
93 out of 100 people are metabolically unhealthy. Harvard is saying by 2030, 50% of people will be obese.
It's the movie WALL-E.
It is the movie WALL-E. Exactly. It's turning into something that's not good. Well, the reason why metabolic diseases like obesity, diabetes, cancer, et cetera, are on the rise is because of insulin. That's the first domino to fall. When you have high levels of insulin, it will trigger a cascade of metabolic diseases. And almost every single conventional doctor does not run a fasting insulin blood test. It's the most important test for your metabolism, and they don't run it. You know why? Because there's not a medication to prescribe if you have a high fasting insulin.
Wait, you're saying that lifestyle choices could actually replace medications? This is a bold
I know, right? It is completely against the paradigm of conventional norm, right? Yeah. And you understand this, but when we test the fasting insulin, it shows you if you're burning sugar or burning fat. And they're testing a fasting blood sugar, which is great, or an A1C, the 3-month average of your fasting glucose, great, or overall glucose. But your insulin levels could be elevated for 6 to 14 years without your blood sugars changing. Meaning you could have full-blown insulin resistance, hyperinsulinemia for 6, 10, 14 years without you being diagnosed because your blood sugars are not shifting because you never ordered the fasting insulin.
Right.
So the most important test is a fasting insulin. You want to see that between 3 and 6. Ketosis is the best way to lower insulin, to lower blood sugar. So it prevents these diseases. It reverses these diseases, especially diabetes and insulin resistance. The next thing here with keto is that it helps you feel full and satiated. You know, a lot of people that are overweight, I'm sure you could relate, you have all these cravings for carbohydrates and sugar, right? You just want more food. When you eat protein and fat and lower your carbs, a lot of that goes away. You readjust, your palate changes completely. So now you're craving like avocados and eggs and beef.
Well, and in the Atkins program, it's that 2-week induction period is what they always call it, right?
It's like a transition.
And Atkins, for anybody listening, if you don't know what Atkins is, I mean, I always say that it was the old name of keto.
Yeah, it was like the original version.
Dr. Atkins came out with it, and then we called it carnivore, and then we called it caveman,
South Beach diet,
keto. Like we just keep
diet.
renaming it, but it's literally a ketogenic diet that
Correct.
everybody puts their flair to and puts a marketing twist on it, but it's ketogenic diets, right?
It is, exactly. It's just a different way to get you into ketosis. And you know, those 93% of people that are metabolically unhealthy, in the book, I say they're in a keto deficiency. They forgot how to burn fat. We need to teach them again how to burn fat, because when we're born into this world, were you breastfed? Do you remember? You weren't breastfed?
I remember. I don't remember. But
I mean,
I've heard
not
stories
remember,
that I was
did
not.
your mom tell you?
No,
Okay.
I grew up in the formula generation. I'm older than you.
I did too, but my mom did breastfeed me. But so babies that are breastfed are in ketosis. And studies show that. I actually reference them in the book. So we're naturally designed to be born into this world and burn fat and use ketones. But then we go on the baby formula, we start snacking and grazing, and we take this beautiful baby that's designed to burn fat and we teach it to burn sugar. And now it's stuck burning sugar. It's 30 years old, 50 years old.
High fructose corn syrup.
All that crap. Yeah, they're snacking, they're grazing.
Formula.
So ketos is one of the answers, the solutions to the problem there.
Yeah, that's insane. So obviously the keto thing, we've got an obesity pandemic in our country that's off the charts. And I will say that I've got a friend of mine, and I want to say it was Easter of last year or something like that. And a bunch of us, I live in South Florida, and truthfully, I don't have family there. So a bunch of us had gone out for lunch or something after church on Easter, and we were sitting at the table, and it's funny because it was a friend of mine was across the table, the other friend was next to me, and her parents were across from them, and the whole family's obese. Like, I don't even mean a little bit. I mean, like, it's bad.
Yeah.
And Sharon is her name, and sorry, Sharon, if you're listening, but works out like a freak. Like, at one point in time, she was so committed, and she's like, I can't even do that. And I'm like, look, you are so committed to working out. Like, I will pay your gym membership so you can continue, because it was a financial burden for her at the time.
Wow.
I'm like, I want you to keep doing this. And it's like, I look at her Instagram photos and stuff like that, and I'm like, man, like, she doesn't seem to ever get smaller. But we're sitting at Easter, and something came up, and the friend of mine that's sitting across the table, we're at like some Mexican buffet or something ridiculous on the beach. And have you ever go to Lona over on Fort Lauderdale Beach?
I haven't been.
I'd recommend it. On the weekend, they do like a big Mexican buffet. You'll probably be sick to your stomach. But literally, it's like, it's, barbacoa and all this other kind of stuff. And it's like, so our plates have their food on them, but it's all the meat. It's, some salad. It's, a little bit of, coquita cheese on the meat and some guacamole and stuff like that. But it's like, it's none of all the other nonsense. It's none of the sweets. It's none of this. And it's like, they come back with, tacos. And they're making their tacos, right?
That's
and it's
the
like,
difference.
And a taco by itself is not necessarily the worst meal choice, to be honest. Like if you're eating it with like a flour tortilla, but if it's a corn tortilla and it's meat and cheese, I suppose it's probably not the worst thing that could happen. But then after finishing the tacos, go back and get a waffle because there's a waffle bar. And it's like, and my friend and I are sitting across the table. I'm like, oh my God, like, and you're always the one wondering like what's going on. Well, and I said something and I forget what it was, but I'm pretty outspoken about stuff. And I was like, that waffle's not doing you any favor after the workout, right? Like, haha. And I got well, your body needs some sugar. And I went, does it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, your body needs sugar. And I was kind of polite. I was like, but does it? Well, yeah, that's science. Like you have your body needs sugar. And I'm like, nope. Like, I hate to break this to you, but no, your body literally needs 0 refined sugar.
Yeah.
Like your body will make its own sugar out of glucose.
That's right.
But this is not a sugar problem that you're just giving your body what it needs because that's part of the pyramid here. Like that's not okay. But here's the deal. Like I'm not throwing shade on her. It literally, like my other friend and I afterwards, we were actually at the gym and talking. I'm like, here's my issue. It's not her. It's not her family. Like it's not like that. It's what in the world happened to our education system? And she's a teacher. And I'm like, you're literally a freaking teacher. And you are sitting here giving me a lesson about how your body needs you to have a waffle periodically because sugar makes the body run. And I was like, what has gone so wrong?
Yeah.
In our system, in our education system, that we think that's normal.
Yeah. Well, it's gone right for the pharmaceutical companies.
Suppose it's a POV here, right?
Yeah, it's done the right way for them. It's I used to say the system is broken, but it's operating the way that it was, very well designed. It's operating the way that it was designed. Yeah, it's a brilliant subscription model. I mean, you're an entrepreneur. You've been one since you were 16 years old. Subscription models are great, and this is a really brilliant, effective subscription model. But big 100%. Pharma is just evil. And there is a collective agreement, like Sharon, I think you said her name was, and others that believe sugar is the most important energy source for the body, for the brain. And
right.
To your point, we don't need any sugar, especially refined sugar, but even glucose. I hear people say we need to eat food to increase glucose to fuel the brain.
Carbs in your body will convert it.
Yeah, and it will, but there's no such thing as essential carbohydrates in the medical textbooks. There's nothing. There's essential fats, essential proteins, but no essential carbohydrates, because to your point, your body could make all the glucose it needs from fat, from protein, from cortisol. It will do whatever it needs to do via gluconeogenesis. So glucose is not the most important fuel for the body. It's actually ketones and fat. But back to your point here, we have our nutritional guidelines are the complete opposite of what we should be doing.
We'll actually bleep when you actually say what our nutritional guidelines are. We won't call you out on that.
Dude, it's, have you seen, there's an episode of South Park from like 12 years ago where they talk about the food pyramid.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, we have...
you actually had it in one of your videos.
I had it in my presentation.
Yes.
Exactly. I played it during a keynote lecture. Or even one of my videos as well.
It was one of the videos where I saw it,
Yeah, I did it also in a lecture. But it showed like Cartman saying, it's upside down. Like flip the pyramid upside down. And then, okay, everybody got healthier, right? They nailed it, bro.
Totally. Bobby Kennedy's actually used that.
Oh, has he used that?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That's
hilarious.
Funny. Yeah, so
kind of like how the Simpsons always predict what's going on next in the world.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Look, I know this to be true. The human body is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. It has this innate intelligence that is just designed to heal itself. We just need to remove the interference. When we're eating carbohydrates in excess, when we're eating processed food in excess, when we have environmental toxins in our environment, it's interference. The body can't heal. Then we'll get a symptom. The body will show us a symptom or many symptoms to get you back on a course. It's the body's check engine light. But we've been brainwashed to believe, oh, we need a medication for that symptom, or we need a surgery. We need something to do something very extreme. But it's actually a blessing to have a symptom.
It's not a go to the mechanic. It's an oil change.
Yeah, exactly. Figure out what's going on. And then your body's communicating. And as long as you remove the interference, it will heal itself. Ketosis and a ketogenic approach is a powerful tool in the shed to do that, because you eliminate the processed carbs. You eliminate the carbs in excess. And then when you're in ketosis, you don't snack and graze. You end up doing intermittent fasting. It's very, very powerful.
So I want to fasting.
Yeah.
Next topic I want to talk about.
Yep.
So obviously, your books, and I've read your first book, not first book. What was the
Keto Flex, the previous one?
Keto Flex? Yes. So I've read Keto Flex. Absolutely love the story that you told about your dad and everything else. I thought that was amazing. But the in reading Keto Flex, and one of the things that you point out in there is actually the function of autophagy through fasting.
Yeah.
And for people who don't know what autophagy means, most of you probably do, but it's cleaning up zombie cells. It's like when the body is starved, it starts to eat itself, and it starts with the garbage first.
Yeah.
Right? Like, easiest way to get rid of the garbage is to let your body clean itself up.
That's right.
Right? Easiest thing to do. And everybody's just like, oh, I need to antioxidant. I need to detox. And it's like, well, there's an easy way to do that. Just quit the inputs.
Just don't eat.
Yeah, quit the inputs. You're good. And I think that's very little understand. Now but I want you to give us some very strict guidelines on what fasting means. And then I want to go one layer deep, because I know people who specifically say things like, oh, I intermittent fast every day. And I'm like, well, that's not good for you. And they're like, well, I do it every day. And I'm like, 4 times a week is good. Like, you don't need to intermittent fast 7 days a week. Like, it's not necessarily hurting you, but you're not getting much extra benefit out of it, in my opinion. Like, then I know people who think they're intermittent fasting because they just, skip lunch. It's like, well, skipping lunch didn't solve the problem either, because you didn't actually get into a state of autophagy between breakfast and dinner. Because you're literally doing a meal every 12 hours then.
Yeah.
Like, you're not doing anything for yourself. Like, but I think there's such a misunderstanding, because intermittent fasting is now the next fad conversation that everybody's talking about. And again, while I think it's great that people are trying it, practice doesn't make perfect. Practice just makes permanent. And I think we need to make sure that people are practicing perfectly in order to do it perfectly. What is your ideal windows for fasting and frequency? Like, what do you recommend to people who are trying to make this move?
Fasting is a very, very powerful tool. I relate it to a chainsaw. If you've read the user manual for a chainsaw, you get the job done, you get amazing results. But if you haven't read that user manual, you can hurt yourself. Fasting is very similar. It's a very powerful tool, and you need to know how to use it as a tool and read the user manual. So, I like to get the person into ketosis before I do any fasting. I like to get them fat adapted, get them familiar with burning fat. Then we shift them into some fasting protocols. And it varies on the person, their health history, their goals, on what the best schedule is. I have found that an 18-6 works the best for most people. And for those who don't know, an 18-6 is a 18-hour fast out of a 24-hour period with a 6-hour eating window where you have 2 to 3 meals in that 6 hours. So most people do 12 to 6 as that window of eating, and then fasting outside of that. That works well for most people to do. And they could do that even every day, as long as they get enough protein and nutrients within that 6-hour eating window. But if they're not, to your point, they might need to have some days where they're not fasting.
Undernourished, right?
Yeah, undernourished. And I think fasting is great, but too much of a good thing like autophagy is great. But too much autophagy, you could weaken your immune system, you could lose muscle mass. So too much of a good thing could be a bad thing. We need to balance out the fasting with the feasting. So as long as you're balancing that out and getting enough protein and nutrients, you could practice daily intermittent fasting. But the problem is that people feel so good when they're fasted. Like, I'm fasted right now, and I feel great. I feel better when I'm fasted. That you want to do more, right? And you want to do more. And I've been guilty of doing too much myself. So you need to feed as much as you need to fast. We need to just get back and forth and do both. But here's a timeline that I, share about on my YouTube channel, and it does really well when I explain like a 24-hour fast. Like, what happens inside of your body when you don't eat food for 24 hours. The first 14 hours, which is the first step to practicing fasting, you go 14 hours without food. There are 2 major benefits at the 14-hour mark. The first benefit is that you complete digestion. And it takes a lot of energy and blood flow and bandwidth to digest food. So you're not digesting food anymore at that 14-hour mark. And there's a process called energy diversion, which means the energy that would have been used for digestion is now being diverted towards healing. The brain, the liver, the kidneys, wherever the innate intelligence needs to send it sends it there through energy diversion.
It's a bandwidth issue for the body, right?
Exactly.
You only got so much energy to go around.
You only have so much bandwidth.
And you're making it work doing this,
Correct.
So you can't do that.
So now you have all this bandwidth up to your point, and it's being sent towards healing. At the same time, insulin is dropping at that 14-hour mark. So you're going to notice some extra water weight coming off. You're just going to feel less bloated and puffy. Now, as you shift into 16, 17 hours of this fast, without food, no food for 16 to 17 hours, autophagy, that process, that cellular cleanup starts to get enhanced. So it's kind of like Pac-Man going within your cells, cleaning out junk. As you mentioned, the body's so smart, it goes for bad cells first. That's getting ramped up around that 16 to 17 hour mark. Once you go about 20 hours into this without food, you're going to see a surge in brain-derived neurotropic factor, which is, brain fertilizer. So you're more creative, you have more energy. 24 hours in, so this is a day without food, there's a huge increase in human growth hormone. And human growth hormone is anti-aging, it's fat burning, it's an energy producer.
Muscle building.
Muscle building, muscle preserving. And studies show, and I put the study in Metabolic Freedom, a 2,000% increase in human growth hormone after 24 hours without food in men, and a 1,300% in women. Huge increase. And then you also are resetting your gut microbiome, right? This is just 24 hours without food. Now, I wouldn't recommend that every day, a 24-hour fast every single day.
No, but that would be called starvation.
That would be called starvation, exactly. But once a week of that, and then 18-6 outside of that, that's a good general rule of thumb to follow. I like that protocol.
I love that too, because I'll do that quite a bit. Right?
Same.
Just
that's
done.
my routine. Yeah.
Like I'm just done, and it's like, and the funny thing about it is because most people are like, oh, but then I just get weak, I don't have energy, and I'm like, that's funny because like I don't believe you.
Yeah, it's because they did it too much too soon.
Right, and it very well could be, or it could also be because they're loading up on caffeine instead.
That could be it too.
And you think because you're not having food, but you're pounding all sorts of other things throughout the day.
And even like coffee for some people could break a fast.
Right.
So for some people, there's a blood sugar spike from drinking coffee, and that breaks a fast. So you got to test your blood sugars before and 45 minutes after. And this is the most popular question I get asked: does coffee break a fast? The answer is, it depends. For me, it doesn't. I've tested.
Right.
The only way to know is to test. So you're one of the blessed ones as well.
But I don't drink coffee, so it doesn't really bother me. But caffeine itself doesn't.
You don't drink coffee, my friend.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What kind of an alien are you?
I know. It's one of the things.
Wow. I
know.
Concerned.
Isn't that weird?
It is weird. I love coffee.
I'm not a coffee drinker. I've tried.
What
I've actually tried
tea?
to be a coffee drinker.
Are you a tea guy?
I do like tea. Like iced tea is probably like my favorite
I'm
drink.
not a tea guy.
No, it just doesn't do it.
That's all right. I still love you, bro.
Coffee doesn't do it for. I appreciate that. But so this whole idea, like people going into fasting, autophagy, so on and so forth, and obviously people think of keto for weight loss.
Yeah.
Which of course it's very effective at that. But keto has benefits way outside of weight loss.
Oh, for sure.
And, I mean, you're talking about nootropic benefits, right? Like literally 24 hours without food, and your brain is sharper.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Partially because the energy that your body would be using for digestion is actually moving into your brain instead. Your organs are functioning at a higher level. You're actually focusing attention on healing. Immune function goes up. Like
all that.
Everything about that happens. But I want to go one step deeper than that. And that is, I was actually talking to somebody earlier today who's been diagnosed with cancer. And, I know this, but I want to make sure that you explain it better than I ever could, is this idea that the best thing to possibly do with a cancer diagnosis is fast. And most people don't even think of that because and when I was talking with him earlier, he actually has cancer and has been on a 25-day water fast.
Wow.
And I'm like, which is impressive, first of all.
Yeah.
Like that's impressive that he can even do that, but deliberately scheduled a 25-day water fast because a number of 6 months ago or something got a diagnosis that his cancer has just spread. It's aggressive. They can't do anything with it. Lung cancer was what he just said, but I actually believe it actually started as a throat cancer and ended up metastasizing.
Wow.
So, and again, if your cancer in your throat and stuff normally goes to a lymph node, and that's bad news, right?
Serious business.
So, but he had a tumor, and the reading and research that I've done through this type of stuff, and I will tell you, my dad actually, I'll say, had prostate cancer, took no conventional treatments, ozone bypass, fasting, so on and so forth, mistletoe therapy, did everything completely undetectable now. But this guy that I was talking to, his name was Henry, and when I was talking to him, it was this, he's like 25, like, this is what they told me. And I'm like, well, I remember, sugar was a conversation because we were talking about muscle deterioration and whatnot. And I said, when my grandmother had lung cancer, all they kept telling her was, well, keep your weight up, keep your weight up, keep your weight up. And she's like, I just can't eat that much. And they're like, that's okay. Like, get a milkshake, do this type of stuff. So it was like, so she went on the milkshake diet while she's going through cancer treatments. And I'm like, this makes no sense. Like, you're literally, cancer feeds on sugar. Like, more than anything, cancer will feed on sugar. I'm like, you're literally feeding the cancer at this point. Like, you're helping it grow. he went on a 25-day water fast.
Which means water only for those who don't know.
Yes,
Yeah.
water only. Like not even a flavored anything, not coffee, not tea, just water only for almost a month. 0 tumor undetectable.
Wow. It's amazing.
And the doctors are like, we don't understand. Like they literally were like, look, it's growing. There's nothing we can do.
Wow.
You really, just enjoy the last bit of your life. And then of course, I'm sure he did other naturopathic things as well because he's versed in the longevity space. But literally he says like 25-day water fast. And he's like, and now I've come out of this water fast recently. And he's like, but I'm only eating, in a fasting window. I'm high protein, and I'm just very specific. I'm whole foods only. And it's like, yeah, you fixed your problem. Like the one thing that surprises me more than anything, Ben, is how resilient the human body is. Like it's been made to live.
Yeah.
We weren't born to die. And I think we treat life as if we're just trying to figure out the expiration date as opposed to that dash in between, right?
Yeah.
Like, and listening to his story, I'm like, fasting has so many other benefits outside of, and again, I'm not telling everybody that, fast and your cancer will go away, but it certainly never hurt anybody with it, right? Like, but he's also doing things in the meanwhile to make sure that muscle mass continues to grow. Like you got to continue to work out muscle mass, whether that's, the EMS or whatever, like doing something to make sure that he's protecting muscle while doing that. Any thoughts on that? You're the study guy. You know this stuff.
Yeah, no, I love hearing stories like that because it illustrates how powerful the human body is. The innate intelligences, as you mentioned, were designed to live and to thrive. 25-day water fast, it's extreme, but for an extreme situation, like if
you've been given a death sentence.
I mean, come on, I would do anything to try to survive. When you, to your point, many cancers, not all, but many cancers feed off of sugar. And we know this because they do these scans on individual cancers, and they have them drink this formula, and then they do the scan. They see the cancer cells light up, and the formula is a sugar formula, and it lights up like a Christmas tree if they have active cancer, and they can see how it's spread because it feeds off of sugar. Most cancers do, not all, but almost the majority of them. And when you fast, you are starving the cancer. Your ketones are also anti-inflammatory. You're destroying the fuel supply. Chemotherapy, and there's a time and place for it. There's a time and place for conventional medicine, but chemotherapy doesn't get to the root. It cuts off the flowers, right? The cancer growth, which then, it's got rid of the cancer growth, but the root's still there. So 3 years later, 5 years later, it comes back, and then they do chemotherapy again, right? Fasting gets to the root. When you fast, you produce ketones, anti-inflammatory. Your body is so sophisticated. You mentioned the autophagy part, but it goes a step farther. Autophagy is cellular cleanup. And if there's a cell, like a cancer cell, a precancerous cell, or mitochondria that have no function, they're called senescent cells. You mentioned zombie cells earlier. The innate intelligence will send a signal called apoptosis, programmed cell death, to get rid of that cell. And that could be a cancer cell. And then it produces a stem cell to replace that cancerous cell. This gets enhanced with these longer fasts. So I think fasting is one of the greatest ways to harness the innate intelligence, one of the greatest ways to reset your microbiome. And if you have cancer, I would definitely explore, if you know somebody who has cancer, I would definitely explore adding fasting, these other metabolic tools to your toolkit, because it could be a game changer for them, just like your example of your friend.
Yeah, and that's the stuff that blows my mind. And, we can get into the subscription model of pharmacology.
Yeah.
More and more, which just like the deeper we get into this stuff and the more that even like the Maha reports are exposing and stuff, like it just makes your head want to explode. But when we get into this, like there's so much just natural function that we've just turned off. And I made this comment, I forget who I was talking to, but I probably said it a dozen times. Like we're finding out that ancient wisdom, like, was right.
Yeah.
And fasting is another one of those things. Like, I mean, I've been talking about 100 things, but I was having a conversation with Brian just a minute ago. You saw him, and it's like we were talking about quantum energy, and I was making a comment about how biofields attract like biofields and so on. I was like, which means like do unto others as you would have them do unto you, right? That which you admit is that which you attract. I'm like, which kind of means the golden rule is really kind of more of a science lesson, like if we really want to take it in that term. And it's like, but I look into this, even biblical text, like any religion of the world, it doesn't even need to be a Christian tradition, like fasting has been a clear part
All of them.
of decision making and prayer. Every major religion in the world promotes fasting. And it's
right.
like, why? Well, because fasting brings mental clarity. And it's like,
Removes the interference.
correct. And growing up in Christian tradition and in the churches that I went to when I was young and even as an adult and today, you know, fasting is that, you know, I'm giving up something so that God will give something back to me. And I'm like, sure. Like, I get
one
it.
way to look at it, yeah.
I'm with you. Like, the idea is that you're making a sacrifice and you're making your sacrifice as an act of obedience so that God will reveal some type of something to you. And I'm like, but actually fasting is kind of like because you're actually going to put your body, you're going to let your digestive system shut down for a minute, which increases energy bandwidth, which actually goes into healing process and increases nootropic results in the brain, which actually increases mental acuity. And the increase in mental acuity may actually let your brain problem solve itself. Like, you actually just went into overdrive in your head. Okay, not to say that it's not God speaking to you, but I think God can only speak to people who have clear heads anyways. So like, perhaps this ancient wisdom is just coming back again.
Yeah.
Just one more example of how, you know, perhaps everything was good. And like, I've gotten into these conversations about, you know, cellular trauma and how cellular trauma is carried on. Like, if an animal is killed in an inhumane fashion, there's trauma stored at a cellular level that perhaps we're ingesting. Like that's the thing. You know, maybe kosher laws or halal was not wrong either. Like there's so many things from back then. And fasting is like, it's such a no-brainer. And now I think like people like you, people like Dan, people like Steve, like when you're talking about it all the time, it's kind of like, it, to me anyways, and I'm like, yeah, it just makes complete biological sense on stuff that we've turned into a spiritual thing. And the fact that, I mean, I always use the example, and I've probably said it 15 times if I've said it once in the last 2 days, that you've got the spiritual camp here and the scientific camp here. And I'm like, and I feel like I'm standing in the middle sometimes going, y'all aren't that different.
Yeah.
Like, you're saying the same thing. You're just looking at it from two different POVs here.
It's
like,
true, bro.
Like, you're saying the same stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I agree with you. We can both agree that fasting is a great thing to do when you're trying to get a deeper understanding or a deeper spiritual walk or deeper. Why? Well, because you're heightening your mental acuity.
Yeah.
Like, that only makes sense. And by the way, all these other things are happening too.
Yeah.
Right? And here's the reality. It's like, people are fasting typically during stressful times of their lives, which I do want to ask you, and I know that we're going to wrap up here in a second, but for a person who gets into this bandwidth conversation, when a person spends too much time in the sympathetic nervous system, does fasting and keto and stuff help downregulate sympathetic nervous response?
I would say if you're overly stressed in a heightened sympathetic state and a suppressed parasympathetic state, I wouldn't add more fasting and ketosis, too much fasting and ketosis.
Because that actually will overstress the
They're both
system.
stressors.
Correct.
Yeah. So no, that's a great question, because if you're already doing 18 hours fasting, 24 hours fasting, but you're so stressed right now, you're in a sympathetic state. You see that with maybe your HRV declining, your resting heart rate up. You need to dial back the fasting and even dial back a little bit less ketosis, because they're both stressors. They're amazing, incredible stressors when you adapt to it. But if your stress bucket is so full right now, I would recommend more feeding, more rest and recovery, and then going back into it. So no, I would not add too much other stressors into the mix. That goes for all biohacks too. Red light, cold plunge, sauna.
Agreed.
All that stuff.
But because all of it is a trigger. All of it
Yeah.
is a stressor on the body, because we're literally hacking into the body's defenses in most cases.
Yeah.
Like I use the example when people are like, well, I don't understand biohacking. I'm like, well, let me give you a really easy example. You go into a tanning bed, and literally using shortwave and longwave ultraviolet light, UVA and UVB light, you are actually triggering the production of melanin in the skin, and the oxygenation process turns it brown. You are literally triggering your body's defense to the sun because you like looking brown better. Like, that's a biohack.
Makes sense. Simple.
Right? I got the result I wanted by hacking into my body's defense, because there was nothing to be afraid of, but I triggered my body's defense system for an aesthetic.
Yeah.
You know, and people are like, oh, all right, like that makes sense. And I'm like, that's all tanning is.
Yeah.
Tanning is just triggering a melanin production that oxygenates. You know, short wave triggers it, long wave oxygenates it. And now we've got brown skin. Congratulations, you've biohacked, right? Ben, I know you've got another commitment that you've got to get to, but man, it's been great having you here, buddy.
Dude, I appreciate you, Mark. I love what you're doing. I had a great time having you on my podcast. For your audience, if they want to get the book, we have a free course we're giving away on the metabolism over at metabolicfreedombook.com. You can get the free course. The book's available on hardcover, Kindle, Audible, Spotify. I narrated those myself.
I told you I went to some Barnes and Nobles and signed a few copies for you.
You signed the copies for me. Where was that? That was in Arizona? Was that in Arizona?
All over Phoenix.
Okay, so if you're in Phoenix.
I didn't do that, I swear.
I was like, you signed my signature? That's so funny. Yeah, it's at bookstores as well.
So there are fraudulent copies of Ben's book out as well.
But thank you, man. I appreciate your support. I appreciate what you're doing, bro. It's an honor to be on your podcast.
Likewise, buddy. And everything that we've just talked about will actually be in show notes down below. You can actually see the metabolicfreedombook.com link, as well as links to Keto Kamp and all of Ben's contact information. This is the man when it comes to understanding keto and metabolic function. I highly encourage that you follow him and also watch his podcast and everything that you got going on, man. Like, you're crushing it. New York Times best-selling author.
It's an honor, bro.
Like that's incredible.
It's pretty cool.
So proud of you.
Thank you, Mark.
You're doing crazy work.
Honor to be in the trenches with you, bro. Let's keep going.
We got to fight ahead.
Let's go. Thank you.
Good seeing you, buddy.